Greetings everyone and welcome to another video on this channel. Today we will take a deeper look at Lucarios' aura mechanic and how exactly it does work in Smash Ultimate. Before we start, I just wanted to leave a small note at this point. As based on my research, we will have to deal with one of my greatest enemies in life, math. It actually has been pretty interesting though to look at the numbers and changes behind the mechanic, but it also cost me a pretty long time for the research, so I really hope you like this video. I thought it would be a good idea to also include the general benefits of the aura mechanic and what would be a good way to adapt it to your gameplay when picking Lucario. At least in my opinion. So as always, make sure to use the chapters of the video to move to the parts which are the most important ones for you personally. The main source I used for this video was the website about the aura mechanic from Smash Wiki. I will leave the link in the description if you want to take a deeper look at it by yourself. Major shout to this user who suggested the idea for this guide, and now without further delay, let's get started. As always, let's start with some basic information about the aura mechanic in Ultimate. It has three main stages decided by specific damage percents: a floor percent, baseline percent, and a ceiling percent, each with a specific damage multiplier that applies to Lucario's attacks. For example, in Brawl, the floor percent is 20% with a damage multiplier of 0.7. Then the baseline percent is 75% with a multiplier of 1. And finally, the ceiling percent is 170% with a multiplier of 1.4. These damage multipliers are fully accounted for in the knockback formula, causing aura to have drastic effect on knockback and therefore KO power. It is also worth noting that in Smash 4 and Ultimate, the aura stacks with Rage, further increasing the knockback inflicted by Lucario. As this guide is about Lucario's appearance in Ultimate, let's focus on that at this point. If Lucario is either at or below the floor percent, the power of his attacks matches the floor multiplier. Once Lucario exceeds the floor percent, his attacks gradually become stronger as he takes more damage. When Lucario reaches the baseline percent, his attacks reach regular power, matching their programmed base damage. Once Lucario exceeds the baseline percent, the power of his attacks continues to increase until he reaches the ceiling percent, where his attacks become much stronger relative to their default level. Once Lucario reaches the ceiling percent, his aura cannot increase any further, regardless of how much damage he takes. In addition to Lucario's percent, there is another factor that affects his aura level: the amount of stocks he has compared to his opponents, or score in the time battle, which is collectively referred to as his placing in the match. I would like to focus on how aura works while being in stock battles, as it's probably the most common battle type compared to time and stamina battles. If Lucario's placing is different from his opponents, he gains an additional aura damage multiplier, which is factored alongside the multiplier obtained by his percent. This secondary multiplier is higher than 1 if Lucario is currently placing lower than his opponents, and lower than 1 if currently placing higher, further strengthening or weakening his attacks respectively. This allows Lucario's effective aura multiplier to be even higher or lower, although the resulting amount is still limited with a minimum threshold of 0.6 and a maximum threshold of 1.8. I know this probably already has been too much at this point, but now let's take a slightly deeper look at the aura multiplier and how it works. You can now see the general overview of how the multiplier and the percents of Lucario used to work in past Smash games and Ultimate on screen. Of course, we will focus on Ultimate here. The most important part about this table is probably the formula, which we'll have to keep in mind depending on which stage you're currently on when playing Lucario, say floor stage, baseline stage, or ceiling stage. As already mentioned, additionally to the generally percent multiplier, there's also one based on the current stock situation compared to your opponent. Pretty interesting at this point is that this mechanic, usually referred to as stock aura, only applies between human players. It neither takes CPUs into account nor affects Lucario's CPU's aura, and is by extension absent from single player modes. Generally, the stock aura multiplier increases if Lucario is placing lower than other players and decreases if he is placing higher than them. This factor is known as Lucario's rank and is stored as an integer ranging from -2 to +2, indicating a lower or higher placing than your opponents. So far, so good. In stock battles, Lucario's rank directly correlates to his stock difference with other players. For example, in a 1v1 battle, if Lucario has 4 or more stocks and the opponent has 2, the rank is +2. Whereas if Lucario has 1 stock in the same situation, the rank is -1. In matches with more than 2 players, the rank is a sum of 2 values. Lucario's advantage over the last placing player and his disadvantage over the first placing player. So for example, if Lucario has 2 stocks, a second player has 1, and the third player has 4, the resulting rank is -1. This calculation does not take team affiliation into account, but does count eliminated players as having 0 stocks. So even if only Lucario and 1 other player are remaining with equal stocks, his rank will be +1 for each player eliminated from the game. Every time Lucario's rank changes, the stock aura multiplier is updated to a certain value, depending on not only the rank itself, but the amount of non-CPU players in the match, with an accountable maximum of 4, even with more than 4 players, and the difference in the multiplier's value being higher with more players. For example, with a rank of -1 in Ultimate, the multiplier is 1.2 in a 1v1 battle, and 1.4 with 4 or more players. Whereas with a rank of +1, the respective multipliers are 0.915 and 0.83. Important at this point is that whenever Lucario's rank changes, the aura mechanic will not update immediately after. This is the formula with a maximum of 4 players, which is relevant to the exact amount of time until aura matches the updated stock situation. The multiplier takes 375 frames to fully change in a 2-player match, 563 frames in a 3-player match, and 750 frames with 4 or more players. If the rank changes again during this period, the multiplier immediately skips to the previous goal value, then starts gradually scaling into the new value. As you see, we have a lot of math going on in here, so again I will show the formula table for the stock aura on screen so that you can have a deeper look at it again. Lucario's minimum and maximum aura multipliers with both the percent based and stock aura multipliers factored in are still kept at 0.6 and 1.8 respectively, so stock aura can cause Lucario to reach these caps drastically earlier, but not surpass them. While keeping in mind that the aura will be adjusted to the stock situation by a certain amount of time, another factor to make sure enough time has passed already is to take a look at aura's visual effects on Lucario, as these also change depending on being at lower or higher aura, so make always sure to take a look at Lucario himself. Now that we've talked about the technical part of aura, let's also take a look at how we can practically make use of it during battle. And with that I mean general gameplay, but also combos and confirms. Generally, when getting more and more aura, one option would be to play a lot more defensively to avoid losing a stock and thereby your kill power. Lucario's movement options can help here, making use of B reverses and wave bounces. As someone who prefers a more aggressive playstyle, the other method would be, of course, to still go straight for your opponent, no matter if on or off stage. And to make use of that a bit better, let's take a look at how aura affects our combo game and generally our way to approach our opponent. Basic combos including Lucario's general combo tools like neutral air and up throw obviously will deal more damage within less hits. What's also important is that certain moves such as Aura Sphere, Force Palm and Extreme Speed will get more range the more aura you have, which can also affect the way we will go for confirms. Especially Aura Sphere charge will become more dangerous, as we always have to take a look at our opponent's position if we want to go for a certain follow-up, such as the back air confirm, for example. As stupid as this may sound, at this point my advice is to always keep an eye on your opponent's exact percents and generally his characteristics. Most combos which can regularly be used when being at low aura now won't work anymore, or at least not in the same way they used to work when both you and your opponent were on low percents and even stocks. So basically, still making use of aura completely requires slight calculating, especially because one misinput or general mistake will probably cost you your stock, and with that also your current state of aura. As already mentioned, the moves which are changed with your current level on aura most are Aura Sphere, Force Palm and Extreme Speed. The easiest one to adapt here probably is Extreme Speed, as the further range it gets allows you to come back to the stage from further away, but also it allows you to go for your opponent when he's further away from the stage. As for Aura Sphere, having an almost or completely fully charged Aura Sphere in the back will let your opponent be more aware of using it, which would be good against shielding opponents, for example. I already explained that in past videos, but thanks to Aura Sphere cancelling, this will become a chance for you to cancel Aura Sphere charge and go for a completely different follow-up than your opponent expected. As for Force Palm, a pretty big usage aside from using it as a kill move out of Aura Sphere is to keep your opponent away from you by making use of its wave. Be careful though, as this also can get punished by using a reflector, for example. I'd suggest to not overuse Force Palm because of how laggy the move generally is, plus even when being at high aura the hitbox of its actual command grab will not change. An in my opinion pretty underrated way to make use of Force Palm wave is to go off stage and try to gimp your opponent, or generally to push him slightly further away to then go for another move as a follow-up. Last but not least, I want to leave some personal thoughts about the aura mechanic and its use cases. And honestly, I know this is a pretty unpopular opinion, but I think it does work pretty well in Smash Ultimate. My tip is to simply not rely on aura in general. Start the game aggressively by using basic combos, always keep watching both you and your opponent's percents, and definitely don't rely on aura. Relying on the aura mechanic simply will not work out in my opinion. It does have a pretty detailed technical base, but honestly, I just see aura as a more or less slight bonus when playing Lucario. The key is to adapt your combo game and general movement to the current level of aura, but that is the important point, in both ways. Say, also when you are having a stock advantage and less aura, for example. Only relying on aura as a comeback mechanic will not get you far, especially when you take a look at Lucario's general weight nerf compared to Smash 4, which makes KOing him a lot easier when being at mid or higher percents. A lot of people say that aura does make Lucario inconsistent, but I simply can't agree here. I mean, I did achieve pretty good results with the character in the past years, and if I can do it, you definitely can do as well. But these were just some personal thoughts, so please don't roast me. As always, I really hope you enjoyed this guide, and now it's your turn. What do you think about aura and how the mechanic works? Feel free to let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!